Britain's parliament voting overwhelmingly in favour of military action against Islamic State militants. We go to London and we're joined by eNCA's UK correspondent, Ollie Barratt. Ollie, good evening. 7 hours in fact, of debate, Ollie, despite this overwhelming aye by UK lawmakers to go ahead with this operation, there was some opposition. What in the main were the principal concerns?
Well, there are those in the British Parliament, as there are those in the British public, who oppose military intervention of all types. There are those who are concerned about mission creep as well. There are plenty of MPs who raised questions about exactly what they were authorising, how long it might last, and whether it might spill over into neighbouring Syria as well, because this motion was all about Iraq. So there are all of those concerns, and concerns about whether intervening also perhaps makes the situation worse in the region, but perhaps also may radicalise more young Britons here and may make Britain itself more of a target for terror attacks. So a lot of MPs were raising a lot of those issues. Many of them ended up actually voting for the motion because, as you say, they did vote overwhelmingly in favour of it. 524 votes to 43 in favour, so it was very much an overwhelming backing for Prime Minister David Cameron.
How much detail was there, Ali, in terms of just how large an intervention force this would be?
Not a huge amount of detail in the parliamentary motion. It was more a motion based around the principle of what would take place, and the principle that's been set out is that the UK will intervene in terms of airstrikes, and those airstrikes will take place in Iraq. It was pretty clear also in the motion that this will not involve British troops on the ground, boots on the ground. Downing Street says that some soldiers will be sent to the region, but they will really be in an advisory and training capacity. They will not be, says Downing Street, in a combat role. We know that there are 6 fighter jets based in Cyprus, in the Mediterranean. They will be bearing the brunt initially of RAF missions over Iraq in terms of bombing Islamic State targets. So we have some sense of what the UK will be doing in the near future, and it could start as early as this weekend. But in terms of the parliamentary motion, the parameters actually are pretty broad, as long as the UK government sticks to airstrikes at this point and inside Iraq, not Syria.
And as you mentioned, Ollie, this operation to get underway fairly soon by this weekend. It's also important to reflect on the fact that UK Prime Minister David Cameron was saying this by no means is going to be a short operation.
Absolutely right. And look, this is why David Cameron, I think, has resisted joining military action until now. He has an election coming up next May. He didn't really want to be involved in a protracted military conflict with no end in sight, and that may well be what he faces. That may well be what Britain faces. David Cameron admitted in the Commons this could be a problem that could take years to solve. He said that there had to be a lot of patience when fighting the Islamic State, and he said that this wouldn't be shock and awe, the famous phrase used around the 2003 invasion of Iraq. He called, as I say, for patience and admitted to parliamentarians, but also to the watching British people, that this is an engagement with the Islamic State that is going to last years, and it's not going to be over quickly by any means.
eNCA's UK correspondent, Ollie Barratt, thank you very much for that update. The latest, of course, on this decision announced a short while ago of UK lawmakers approving airstrikes against IS in Iraq.